Live karo. Okay. Good afternoon, sir.
Good evening, Professor Pandey. Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
I'm very happy to see you, sir. Our director has also joined. Professor Chaturvedi has already joined.
Good evening, Professor Chaturvedi.
Good evening. Namaskar.
Dadwal here.
Namaskar, Dadwal sir. Good evening, Professor Dadwal. Thank you for joining.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much for staying with us. Director, eminent dignitaries, scientists, faculties, invited guests and delegates, presenters and attendees. I welcome you all to the valedictory function of the 3-day International E-Conference on Water Source Sustainability, organized by the Department of Water Resources Development and Management, IIT Roorkee, and the Indian Water Resources Society. I am Professor Mohit Prakash Mohanty, an assistant professor at the Department of Water Resources Development Management. On behalf of the Department of Water Resource Development Management, IIT Roorkee, and the Indian Water Resources Society, and my own behalf, I thank everyone for attending this 3-day long conference. I want to state that we're really grateful to all the speakers, the chairman, co-chairman, and coordinators for taking out their precious time and presiding over the plenary and technical sessions and carrying out each one very swiftly. Thank you for being with us at this time. It has been really a very great pleasure. I also heartily congratulate all the IWS awardees and all the participants for their active participation in this event. May I now humbly invite Professor Ashish Pandey, the head Department of Water Resource Development Management, Executive Vice President of IWRS and Chairman of the International Conference, to deliver the welcome address. Please, sir.
Good afternoon to all. Sabhi ko mera namaskar. It is a matter of great pleasure for the Department of WRDM, IIT Roorkee, and Indian Water Resources Society, IIT Roorkee, Dr. V.K. Dadwal, Director, Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, Thiruvananthapuram, Professor Chaturvedi, Director, IIT, amongst us in the valedictory function of the International Conference on Water Source Sustainability. I welcome Dr. Dadwal, Director, IIST, Thiruvananthapuram, as well as Chief Guest of this function. I welcome Professor Chaturvedi, Director at Roorkee, who always been a source of inspiration for us for conducting this kind of activities. I also welcome Sri D.P. Mathuria, Executive Director, Technical, National Mission for Clean Ganga, and Vice President, IWRS, keynote speakers, chair and co-chair of the different technical and plenary session participant. I also welcome colleagues from the Department of W, Organizing Secretary of this conference, Professor Basant Yadav. The department was earlier known as WRDTC. This department was established in 1955. In the last 65 years, this department has served the Afro-Asian countries and throughout the India. We had our contribution in all the major water resources projects. Initially, this department was training to be engineers, but now we are also inducting fresh grade students. Our academic programs are one of the best in India, especially on water resource development and irrigation water management. In the last 5 years, Department of WRDM Water Society has conducted many workshops and seminars of national and international importance. Especially, I would like few like food security and irrigation management, hydropower development, sustaining technologies of intelligent water management, irrigation efficiency, and the present conference on water security, water resource sustainability is one of the important aspects for the future sustainability of the mankind itself. This conference is directly addressing the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 6, clean water and sanitation and climate action. I again welcome you all in the validity function of the International Conference on Water Source and Sustainability. I hope the conference will be able to achieve its goal and objective. I wish all the best for this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind words and being the backbone in organizing this conference. I'm sure everyone must have been benefited by this conference. Now I cordially invite Sri D.P. Mathuria, the Executive Director, NMCG, Ministry of Jal Shakti and Vice President IWRS, Executive Office, to deliver its address. Please, sir.
Good afternoon. And the chief guest for this valedictory function, Director, Indian Institute of Space Technology, Director IIT Roorkee. It is always a pleasure to be among the academicians and the key, creamy academicians from various academic institutions deliberating the issues that have been hogging the limelight and the canvas of the day when it pertains to water resources availability, and finding sustainable mechanism towards attaining the objectives related to that. The deliberations during this international conference have been heartening. They have touched upon very, very important aspects of water, which directly as well as indirectly concerns Ministry of Jal Shakti, which has been in foreground of running a large number of programs and schemes for the under central as well as state sector for benefit of various stakeholders. Equally important are the SDG goals which the country is pursuing towards providing clean and drinkable drinking water to its population. Ministry of Jal Shakti through its two departments, Department of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation, and Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, has been the forefront in a large number of the programs, and these programs are not only looking at increasing supply side aspects of water, but also looking at managing the water demands through various management paradigms. There are, we know, large number of challenges, and to ward of those challenges, number of the initiatives have been underway. The ministry has Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, which aims to realize the potential of 99 prioritized major and medium irrigation projects. It has a very ambitious flood management program, which looks both at structural and non-structural aspects of water management. And then it is also looking at interstate issues of the water as well as dam safety issues. And then there is a very ambitious Jal Jeevan mission, which aims to provide drinking water to rural population and functional household tap water to every household by 2024. And with a very impressive outlet, it provides special coverage to aspirational districts, SCSTs and weaker sections. And then Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which is again a mass movement for water conservation. And it does have large number of programs for managing the groundwater in form of NAQM, which is National Aquifer Management Mapping and Management Program. Atal Bhujal Yojana, looking at various groundwater assessment units through surveys, PMKSY, Har Khet Ko Pani, groundwater component. I'm very sure that very, very interesting deliberations that have been held during the course of 3-day course of this international conference will help the ministry in dovetailing as well as fine-tuning the objectives of these programs, and a great learning experience will come from henceforth. I'll stop at this end, and I'd like to thank the organizers for holding such an interesting conference on a very, very contemporary subject and relevant subject as of the day. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind thoughts about the conference IWRS, and also giving a very good idea about the water resource sustainability schemes in the country. It has been an absolute honor in having you during the conference. May I now call upon Professor Basant Yadav, the organizing secretary of the international conference and secretary IWRS, to deliver the report of the conference.
Thank you, Professor Mohit. Dr. V.K. Dadwal, Director in the Institute of Space Science and Technology, Thiruvananthapuram. Professor A.K. Chaturvedi, our Director, IIT Roorkee. Sri D.P. Mathuria ji, Executive Director, NMCG.
You are muted.
No, sir. I think I'm audible.
Okay.
Huh?
It is from the room.
Oh, ये laptop बुलाया. Yes, I'm audible, I think. So, Professor Ashish Pandey, Executive Vice President, IWRS, and Head Department of WRDM IIT Roorkee. I welcome all the dignitaries, delegates, colleagues, guests, students, and others present in the valedictory function. I take this opportunity to present the report on the International E-Conference on Water Source Sustainability organized by the Department of WRDM IIT Roorkee and the Indian Water Source Society. In the International E-Conference, we had 7 plenary sessions with 30 key speakers from diverse background and expertise. We had academicians, scientists, engineers, and policymakers from India and countries like USA, Sweden, Canada, Australia, Netherlands, Austria, Spain, Japan, Taiwan, and Germany. On the very first day in the plenary session 1 and 2, we had thoughtful talks covering the various aspects of water source sustainability, such as sustainability of urban water supplies, how secure we are under climate change, sustainable irrigation management, climate smart technologies for sustainability of water source, remote sensing application in water security, and sustainable management of groundwater in India. In the plenary session 3, 4, and 5, which is held on 19th of June, we had discussions on water governance and capacity building, sustaining water sources under climate change, application of low-cost remote sensing data for the assessment of water sources, water allocation, and water compliance monitoring, role of soils and regulation and provision of blue and green water, rejuvenating water wisdom, challenges in policy framework in water security, budgeting, quality, and sustainability, principles for redressal of disputes on sharing of water sources of a region, challenges and strategies of urban water management for sustainable development, water management at farm level, policy framework and way forward, and remote sensing application in the groundwater security, surface water sustainability. On the last day in the plenary session 6 and 7, the focus was on quality-based water source management, water harvesting, and management approaches for the reduction of flood risk, scalable light-based bioprocess for sanitation and water source recovery, drinking water issues under for urban and hilly rural areas, water demand management using geospatial technologies, drip irrigation and soil erosion, and runoff generation in the agricultural land. We also had 2 technical sessions, each with 4 parallel sessions in which 90 participants from over 50 institutions like IITs, NITs, and other regional colleges presented their work. In the technical sessions, we had 17 presentations on water demand and supply management, 14 on sustainable irrigation water management, 29 on water environment and health, 18 presentation on sustaining water source under climate change, and 10 presentations on sustainability of water sources in urban and rural areas and water governance and capacity building. In the technical session, we also selected the 3 best papers in which some significant theoretical, experimental, and or modeling research work was presented by a student or an early career researcher. The award for the best paper first presented to Gagandeep Singh and Ashish Pandey for the paper titled Water Budget Monitoring of the Upper Ganga Basin of the Northwest Himalayan region using remote sensing data and GIS. The award for the best paper 2 is presented to Miraj Ahmed, Syed Mujtaba Syed Maqsood, Saurabh Yadav, Ritvik Kulkarni, Rajkumar Shankar, Sandeep Gupta, Amrit Kanwar, Lovelace Dave, and Anand K. Palappi for the paper titled Portable Sip Up, a use and throw solution for the safe drinking water. The award for the best paper 3 is presented to Tedse Gindo, Professor M.L. Kansal, Shweta Rathi, and Bahar Adem for the paper titled Reliability Analysis of Water Distribution Network, a case study of Bole and Yeka, sub-city of Adida Bas, Ethiopia. Overall, the presentation covered a wide range of topics and yet were all connected by our common research interest. The socializing opportunities in this tough times through online meetings were added dimensions of this international e-conference. We will be looking forward to the feedback from the participants. Thank you so much and best wishes ahead. Over to Professor Mohanty.
Thank you very much, Professor Vasant Yadav, for presenting a very nice briefing about the conference and also taking a huge responsibility in executing multiple tasks for this conference. Thank you very much. I consider it a great honor to welcome Professor Ajit Kumar Chaturvedi, a director, IIT Roorkee, to kindly deliver an address for the event. Please, sir.
Delegates to this conference on water source sustainability, chief guest Professor Vinay Dadwalji, head of the department of WRDM, Professor Ashish Pandey, office bearers of the Indian Water Resources Society, my colleagues from various departments in IIT Roorkee, and delegates to this conference organized by IWRS. It is, of course, very important that such events are regularly organized by academic departments so that there is learning from exchange of ideas from each other. It is important that we gain from the others' work and others also gain from our work. That is only possible by doing such events in which technical talks are presented, scientific reports are developed, field data is presented, new tools and technologies that have developed over the period of time, they are also shared. And this sharing of knowledge is the key process by which knowledge grows, by which we are able to solve more efficient ways by which we can address the problems that are facing whether mankind in general or in this particular case, the problems of water source sustainability. And while if I glance at the technical program of this conference, it is extremely impressive in terms of the quality of the speakers and the diversity of the speakers in terms of regional diversity, in terms of diversity across academic institutions. And because of the nature of the theme, that means water source sustainability, it is very heartening to see that a large number of policy makers from different state governments and also central government agencies, whether technocrats, bureaucrats, all have joined in this event and shared their ideas. So the last 3 days have been a rich source of information for all the attendees. In fact, many times what happens that scientists, if they get to hear the right policy framework, what is going on in the minds of the technocrats and the bureaucrats, then they are able to devise better methods, better solutions, which fit into the policy framework. So it is important that we invite such people also to these academic conferences. And at the same time, bureaucrats who attend these events, for them also it is very useful because they get to know what is happening in terms of pure science and technology and what are the newer ways in which these things can be utilized, and if required, even policy modifications or policy adaptations can also be carried out. So I must congratulate the organizers. I must congratulate the Indian Water Resources Society for maintaining this standard in terms of holding these events and providing a platform so that such important topic as related to water resources that gets discussed very threadbare. Of course, if it would have been a physical conference, the learnings would probably have been more because people could have asked probably more frequently. Maybe there was more face-to-face interaction, physical interactions, maybe leading to a better exchange of ideas. But even then, the fact that despite the pandemic, such events have taken place, I think it is creditable. And it gives an opportunity to many people who are otherwise unable to travel to such conferences who can participate in this. So there is something on the positive side and something on the not so positive side in terms of the pandemic and its influence on such conferences. I would urge the organizers, I would urge the office bearers of IWRS, I would urge the faculty members of WRDM department that can we do something to segregate the presentations made over the last 3 days in terms of what are pure of academic interest, what are the presentations which probably fall into the interest of stakeholders like field engineers, like bureaucrats, or maybe in some cases even the people who lead the ministries, for example, our political leaders. Is there some knowledge that has emerged from the last 3 days which could be of benefit, of interest to people who lead these ministries. If we can do this kind of segregation, it is possible that the fruits of that effort will be reaped, because then we can make sure that IWRS does not remain just a platform for bringing people together. It can become a platform for transformation of Indian society in terms of water resources, in terms of, in particular, in this case, water source sustainability. And it is a very, very important topic that you don't need to explain to anyone. Even a class 10 student, or a university student, or a farmer, or a practicing engineer, everybody knows how important this topic is. And I was looking at some of the comments that are being received to this conference. A similar thought was echoed by one of the comments, that why is it that on one hand we see that a lot of good knowledge, a lot of good analysis is available, a lot of good methods of doing agriculture, saving water, managing the supply, managing the demand, all these things, a lot of good things are available. But why is it that the gap between what is happening on the ground and the gap between what is happening in the ministries and what is happening in the academic entities, academic platforms, that gap is still more than what it should be? While on one hand, it is important to realize that there will always be some gap, and there is nothing wrong in that gap, because at any time before something can be adopted on the ground, it has to be very rigorously proven in laboratories, in prototypes, in smaller pilot studies, before any wide scale deployment can be done. So that is why there will always be a gap, and there is nothing wrong with the gap. But the issue is that when we are a country which depends so much on agriculture, our economy is so much agrarian, such a huge component is agrarian in nature. In that situation, and given the kind of problems that we often see on our TV screens faced by farmers across the country, different regions facing different kinds of problems, it is our responsibility to do something so that this gap can be reduced. And with that thing in mind, I was suggesting that please do not forget this conference the moment this valedictory function is over. Please take the next step and try to identify things that can be taken forward. They can be taken forward in multiple ways. They can be taken forward by forming good teams. For example, if there is a new idea that has come, maybe a good team can be formed, which can be asked to sort of work on this idea in collaboration. It is possible that something good in remote sensing is now available. Now it needs to be partnered with the right people in agriculture engineering or in water engineers, so that they can formulate exploiting the various characteristics of soil, the various characteristics of sunshine, the various characteristics of weather, all these things, can they be put together with the single aim of positively influencing our farmers, our agriculture? Unless we focus on our farmers and our agriculture, we will not be able to deliver what we are supposed to deliver. We will not be able to live up to the potential of these conferences. And it is very important that we take this lead. Our WRDM department is known to be a forerunner, known to be a pioneer in many ways. Now it is time that it becomes a pioneer in this direction also. I hope that my words will be carried forward, at least in some measure, if not in full measure. And I wish IWRS to hold and organize more such events. And now we all look forward to hearing to our chief guest, Professor Badwalji. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your kind words and always inspiring us. Thank you very much for your wholehearted support in organizing this event. Thank you very much for the very nice advice. We'll certainly be looking into the different methods by which we can address and reducing the knowledge gaps to this conference. May I now request Professor Deepak Khare, Professor, Department of Water Resource Development Management, IIT Roorkee, to kindly introduce the chief of the event. Please, sir.
Thank you, Professor Mohit. Good evening to all. It's my proud privilege to introduce our chief guest, who is presently working as Distinguished Scientist and Director at Indian Institute of Space, Science and Technology. Dr. Vinod Kumar Dadwal, he obtained his PG and PhD degrees from Indian Agriculture Research Institute, IARI, New Delhi. Before joining this IIST, he served at IIRS for quite a long time. He was director from 2011 to 16, associate director from 10 to 11 at NRSC, a major center of ISRO, and had been the dean of Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, IIRS, Dehradun, from 2004 to 10. At the same time, he was concurrently director in charge of UN Center for Space Science. There is a long list of his achievements. I am just, for the benefit of the participants and I'll just share some of them. His major achievements are in the area of Earth observation application, including developing technologies for crop forecasting using Earth observation, and while at NRSC, realization of the National Geospatial Portal Bhuvan, National Database for Emergency Management, National Information System for Climate and Environment Studies, Space-Based Input for Sustainable Development and Planning, Water Resources Information System, Disaster Management Support System, and the list is very long. While at IIRS as Project Director, a very enthusiastic project, National Carbon Project, NCP, from roughly 10 years, from 2007 to 16, he handled, which is in biogeochemical cycle of carbon for India and in a as diverse EO application. He has more than 3,300 peer-reviewed papers and highly cited author in the area of geospatial technologies for natural resource management. His earlier studies on crop discrimination, mapping, crop yield modeling was major contributor of ISRO program on agriculture forecasting and to final acceptance and establishment of a national center by the Ministry of Agriculture in 2012. He has been member and co-chair of Indian delegation in international cooperation meetings with US, Japan, ESA, and China, UN Committee of Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, Vienna. He received many prestigious awards. Just few of them are ISRO Outstanding Achievement Award 2016, Satish Dhawan Award, ISRO 2012, ISRO ASI Award for Space Application by Astronautical Society of India 2005, Indian National Remote Sensing Award, Dehradun 1999. He's fellow of several prestigious organizations, IMD, NAS, ISRS. The list is very long. I'll cut short here. And I would say that we are really fortunate to have Dr. Dadwal as the chief guest. So I welcome you again, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dear Professor Ajit Kumar Chaturvedi, Director IIT Roorkee, Shri Devendra Mathuria, Executive Director, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Professor Ashish Pandey, Head WRDM IIT Roorkee, and Professor Basant Yadav, Secretary, Indian Water Resource Society and Organizing Secretary of International Conference on Water Source Sustainability, which is jointly organized by IWRS with IIT Roorkee, Professor Deepak Khare, Fellows, distinguished members of IWRS, Chair, invitees, speakers, and participants to this international e-conference, other stakeholders who have joined remotely in this valedictory function, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. Thank you, Professor Deepak Khare, for very kind words. At the outset, let me perform two pleasant tasks. First is to place on record my appreciation and congratulation to the Indian Water Resources Society and IIT Roorkee for organizing this conference with broad theme water source sustainability. Let me also express my deep sense of gratitude for your invitation to share some thoughts with all of you on a very important subject. While I confess I'm not a core water resource expert, I would share from the perspective of remote sensing as well as agriculture, the domains of my study, as well as a concerned stakeholder. I also have a sense of missing out on very stimulating presentations that would have been shared and discussed during this conference as I took note of the report on the conference. So the critical themes which were addressed included water supply management, water demand management, sustainability of water sources in urban and rural areas, sustainable irrigation water management, water environment and health, sustaining water sources under climate change, water governance and capacity building. Thus, it is essential that to address the sustainability, we have addressed both demand and supply. So if we take a look at the largest demand and user, the irrigation water management becomes most important. So coupled to this is the overexploitation in groundwater, the challenge and uncertainty of the climate change, and the issues of governance. So I assume the latter would address the issue of access as well as equity. We will return to some of these areas. We understand and we should always not hesitate in stressing the fact that water sustainability is an existential challenge to the humanity and is also widely acknowledged. But what has happened is it has not seen the kind of transformational development that have occurred in very large number of resource areas, including energy, or they have happened in areas of human well-being, whether it is medical technology, communication and information technology, or transportation. So we must then identify what has made this water use immune from such type of transformational changes which have happened in some of the disciplines I told you. Is it because when people use water, it is thought it is free? While you can not mine a mineral, but you can definitely mine water, which is hundreds of years old and not be accountable to anybody. So these are some of the issues I think which we must address. These are elephant in the room which tend to get ignored. I would at this point also like to acknowledge that all stakeholders, whether it is the government department at their institutions, academy and professionals, including the people who are participating and including the IIT Roorkee and the society, the civil society and international and multilateral institutions are all sensitized on this challenge. Not only sensitized, but if you see the response, both at project level, policy level, planning level, support to the water science in various facets is also great. So in spite of all such understanding and such a appreciation, what is inhibiting from this realizing this goal, I think needs to be understood. We must also acknowledge here that there are multiple stories of success. Some of the success are by NGOs, some of the success are by village communities, some of the success are by intervention of the government, and some of the successes are the fruits of the scientists and engineers, contribution. But then these are very uneven in small areas, and still many of them would not really pass the test of sustainability. So there remains a challenge. So the water access and equity for the global humanity, as has been pointed out by the distinguished panelists here, this has featured both in the Millennial Development Goal as well as in the Sustainable Development Goal. And we continue to be very far from our stated target. If you look at the country, I am aware of very large number of initiatives, as Mr. Mathuri also pointed out. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, the Integrated Watershed Management Program, the Drinking Water Mission, the Accelerated Irrigation Benefit Program, the Water Resource Information System, and such projects are too numerous to mention. In fact, my 6 years at NRSC and remote sensing was playing a big role in many of these projects. There have been many outputs, reports, shared data sets, right? So this progress, incremental progress, yes, but what I presume and I understand, the rapid change what is required has been the point, the missing link. Even if you look currently, the current phase of National Hydrology Project, which is huge in terms of the money, in terms of the national coverage, and the type of data sets it will bring. But at the end of the project, a stated goal of the water sustainability may still not be there, even with such a very high cost project. So at this point, I thought water is understand very important for life. It has some of the features. Since many of the sensing and remote sensing of the water we are able to do, I thought let me point out, some very interesting science about it. So when remote sensing, you want to map water, you basically use near infrared and the absorption of NIR by water to map, because it distinguishes. So it's a plain absorption, which is due to vibration of the specific band. If you look at water as a snow, you go to shortwave infrared, and then you are able to identify snow. If you look water as a cloud, you look at the optical properties, the non-selective scattering at a range of wavelength, and then you really see cloud. If you want to see water as a flux, the most important thing which does is that it cools the vegetation. So actually you measure the infrared to see the surface temperature of leaf or the canopy temperature to really measure a water flux. If you want to see water in the soil, you can do it from microwave, which actually penetrate the soil. If you want to go much deeper, you use the mass of the water, which basically is measured by the gray satellite as gravity. The seasonal changes in the gravity to compute the water extraction from the deeper layers. If you want to see the water high in the atmosphere, ionosphere, you basically use the microwave and the delay and the error in your distance measurement to really. So what I was just trying to point out, that the water is a very a molecule with versatile properties, which allows us to sense its phases, its properties, its transformation and fluxes. Why the stress on measurement? Because if we really want to address sustainability, we must measure and monitor. Unfortunately, most of the measurements are at the large scale, but at the user scale, we have not really developed low cost sensors, right? So I will come to that moment also, except that I wish to state that the lessons from this has been enormous scientific opportunity exists from sensing water at various levels, scales, and through various processes, still not fully, exploited. Very interesting one, which I just occurred to me, is if I really want to see the soil moisture, I really can see from the cosmic rays when they interact with the hydrogen of the water and their reflection. So, or the neutrons which come out of this interaction. So what it means is we really need, when we do all this science, build a next generation of sensors to meet the sustainability measurement and monitoring requirement. I also would acknowledge IIT Roorkee and this area itself as a Roorkee, their role in the water resources, including the Yamuna and Ganga canal, which were, built starting from 1870s, and the type of civil engineering as well as water engineering functions they have. Sometimes my feeling is when you are an early, innovator and you have success, you get bound by that success, and that disruption technology, which people who enter much later try to use, I think have not happened. One very simple example is, let us look at the water starved nations. Let us look at the technologies, which the good practices of very low water use and still having high productivity they have adopted. So then it will immediately come to you the easy access of water and our, the century of usage and adoption of technology. Perhaps it is coming in way of moving to a different future. So these transformations will only happen when there is a policy support. Very simple example I would like to quote. India, we are an energy deficient nation, coal rich nation. We have been producing power from the solar plant and hydro. But given the government push, although the technology was always there and proper economics, now the solar energy has become, or solar electricity, as the same cost as the coal electricity or even cheaper if one looks at the environmental cost. So the lesson from here is the policies, economics, and availability in a distributed manner. Our distributed manner of water has mostly been pumps, which perhaps are not as efficient, and too much mining. So we really could take a look. One of the ways to really achieve the sustainability is to be sensitive and account for every drop you use. You must have now become familiar of the carbon footprint. It is very easy now. People, if you even sit on a flight, from one place to other, there are websites which will help you to compute what has been your carbon footprint because of this flight. In spite of all of us being so dependent on water, we are not keeping track of the efficiency and water footprint of all our actions, which is, I think, it would really help in doing that transformation. I could go on with more examples, but I have, I think, used my allotted time. But before closing, I would really like to thank Professor Chaturvedi because he stressed on two very important points. One is the end user. So if the agriculture or irrigation is the highest user of water, let us take bull by the horn and attack the water used by the farmer, and not attack the farmer, but attack his problem so that he makes or grows more grain with less water. And he is empowered with science, technology, and policy to do so. Second, he pointed out another very important thing. This cannot be done by in isolation by a thematic, by engineers, water resource person, or social scientist or somebody. What he pointed out was that this great challenge requires multidisciplinary team. In a sense, you have invited me to this conference, so I assume that you are acknowledging this. Director IIT Roorkee has also pointed out. I'm sure he has given you an agenda, and you will ensure that this problem is attacked from holistic point of view, because sustainability has been in the Indian philosophy, has been there as part of our life, but in the modern circumstances we have to find new ways of achieving this sustainability. Thank you very much, and I wish you all success, not only in this and every endeavor. And let me again say, it was a pleasure and privilege to be with you this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind words. We are really honored by your presence. Thank you very much for your inspirational talk. As you rightfully highlighted, water is precious, and water source sustainability and management is a complex issue, and it requires multi-institutional engagement and support. We are right now on the verge of the valedictory session. May I now please request Professor Basant Yadav, the organizing secretary of IWRS, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Professor Mohit. It's my proud privilege to propose a formal vote of thanks to Honorable Dr. V.K. Dadwal, Director in the Institute of Space Science and Technology, Thiruvananthapuram, for sparing his valuable time and accepting our invitation to be the chief guest of this valedictory function of the International E-Conference on Water Source Sustainability. We are encouraged by your kind presence. IWRS and Department of WRDM IIT Roorkee will always remain grateful to you, sir. IWRS will remain thankful to Professor A.K. Chaturvedi, Director IIT Roorkee, for encouragement and support in organizing this International E-Conference on Water Source Sustainability and for sparing his valuable time with us. Your words and wisdom are always inspiring, sir. We would also like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Sri U.P. Singh Ji, President IWRS and Secretary, Ministry of Textile, Government of India, Engineer D.P. Mathuria Ji, Executive Director, NMCG, and Vice President, Executive Office, IWRS, Professor Ashish Pandey, Executive Vice President, IWRS, and Head of the Department of WRDM IIT Roorkee, and all the Executive Committee members of the IWRS for their help and support. Our special thanks go to our keynote speakers, session chairs, co-chair, students, and attendees who have joined us from various parts of the world and stayed with us even in the late evening sessions. We are also thankful to the faculty members of the Department of WRDM for help and support to conduct this international e-conference. I would also like to thank the team who worked in the background with us day and night to make this event a great success, especially the research scholars, Mr. Sandeep Chaurasia, Mr. Manish Rawat. Also the faculty members from the Department of Hydrology and our scientist friends from National Institute of Hydrology for their timely help and support. We are also thankful to the media person for their comprehensive coverage of this event. I'm thankful to the training officers and office staff of the WRDM department for their timely help and support. Last but not the least, I'm thankful to everyone who has directly or indirectly extended their support in the successful organization of this e-conference. Thank you and good day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.